My brother's controlling girlfriend made him leave our successful food truck business because her family wanted to copy our operations and remove the competition, but their scheme backfired. My brother Adrian, 28M, and I, 32M, have been running a food truck business together for the past 4 years. We started with one truck that we bought used for $15,000. Adrian put in $8,000 and I put in $7,000. The plan was simple: work together, split profits, and grow the business. Over the years, we've expanded to 3 food trucks. Each truck brings in about $3,000 profit per month after all expenses. We reinvest most of the money back into the business, but we each take home around $2,500 monthly from our share. It's not much, but it pays our bills and we love what we do. The trucks are registered under both our names as equal partners. We have a simple partnership agreement that we drew up ourselves when we started. Nothing fancy, just basic stuff about profit sharing and responsibilities. Adrian has been dating Patricia, 26F, for 2 years now. She works as a dental hygienist and makes decent money. I always thought she was nice enough, though we never really clicked. She's very focused on appearances and social media, which isn't my thing, but Adrian seems happy with her. Last month, Adrian proposed to Patricia during a weekend trip to the mountains. She said yes, and they immediately started planning a wedding for next spring. Patricia wants a big wedding with 200 guests, a fancy venue, the works. The estimated cost is around $45,000, which seems excessive to me, but it's their money. Here's where things get complicated. 3 weeks ago, Adrian came to me with what he called a business proposition. We were closing up the downtown truck after the lunch rush when he brought it up. He said Patricia had been talking to her friends about the wedding, and one of them mentioned that business partnerships can get messy if one partner gets divorced. This friend apparently went through a nasty divorce where her ex-husband tried to claim part of her family's restaurant business. Adrian explained that Patricia was worried about our food truck partnership. She didn't want there to be any confusion about what belonged to whom if something happened to their marriage down the line. He said Patricia suggested that we restructure the business before the wedding to make things cleaner. His proposal was that I buy out his share of the trucks for $25,000, or he would buy out mine for the same amount. He said this would eliminate any potential issues and make Patricia more comfortable about getting married. I was stunned. We had never discussed anything like this before. The trucks are worth way more than $50,000 total. Just the equipment and permits alone are worth at least $80,000, not counting the established customer base and location contracts we have. I told Adrian I needed time to think about it. He said that was fine, but they really wanted to get this sorted out before the wedding invitations went out. I spent the next week running numbers and thinking about the situation. The more I thought about it, the more frustrated I got. We built this business together from nothing. We work 6 days a week, often 12-hour days. We've sacrificed vacations, weekends, and social lives to make this work. The idea that Patricia, who has never worked a day in the food truck business, was now dictating how we should restructure our partnership made my blood boil. But I also understood that Adrian was trying to keep his future wife happy. I decided to counter with a different proposal. Instead of one of us buying the other out completely, I suggested we formalize our partnership with a proper legal agreement. We could specify exactly what happens to the business in various scenarios, including if one of us gets married or divorced. When I presented this idea to Adrian, he shook his head immediately. He said Patricia had already made up her mind. She wanted the business partnership dissolved before the wedding. Period. That's when I realized this wasn't really Adrian's idea at all. This was Patricia pushing for something she wanted, and Adrian was just going along with it to avoid conflict. I asked Adrian what he really wanted. Did he actually want to end our partnership, or was he just trying to make Patricia happy? He got defensive and said it didn't matter, they were going to be married, so her concerns were his concerns. I pointed out that dissolving our partnership would essentially kill the business. Neither of us could afford to buy the other out at fair market value, and neither of us could run 3 trucks alone. We'd probably have to sell everything and split whatever we got after paying off the loans. Adrian said maybe that wouldn't be such a bad thing. He said we could each take our share and start fresh, maybe do something different with our lives. This really caught me off guard because we had just signed a new location contract for downtown that runs through next year, and we'd been talking about expanding to a 4th truck. I told Adrian I wasn't interested in selling or restructuring. The business was working fine as it was, and I didn't see any reason to change something that wasn't broken just because his future wife was paranoid about divorce. Adrian got angry at that comment. He said I was being unfair to Patricia and that she had legitimate concerns about protecting her financial future. He accused me of not caring about his happiness or his marriage. I explained that I cared about his happiness, but I also cared about the business we had built together. I wasn't willing to throw away 4 years of hard work because someone who wasn't even part of the business was worried about hypothetical future problems. The conversation ended with Adrian saying he was disappointed in me. He said he thought I would be more supportive of his new life with Patricia. He packed up his stuff and left without finishing the cleanup that night, which left me to close both trucks by myself. That was 3 weeks ago. Since then, Adrian has been showing up to work, but our relationship is strained. He does his job, but he doesn't talk to me unless it's absolutely necessary for business. The atmosphere in the trucks is tense, and I can tell our employees have noticed. Patricia has started showing up at the trucks occasionally, something she never did before. She doesn't help with anything, just sits at one of our outdoor tables on her phone. When I'm around, she gives me looks like I'm some kind of villain who's ruining her life. Last week, I overheard her on the phone with someone, complaining about how I was being stubborn and unreasonable. She said I was trying to control Adrian and prevent him from moving forward with his life. She also mentioned something about talking to a lawyer about their options, which made me nervous. 2 days ago, Adrian's approach changed completely. Instead of being cold and distant, he started being overly friendly and accommodating. He brought coffee for everyone in the morning, volunteered to handle all the difficult customers, and even stayed late to help with extra cleaning. Yesterday, he asked if we could talk privately after work. We sat in his truck, and he apologized for how he had handled things. He said he understood why I was upset and that he didn't want our business relationship to hurt our personal relationship. Then he made a new offer. He said Patricia had been thinking about the situation, and she realized that maybe there was a compromise. What if we kept the partnership but added Patricia as a third partner? She could invest $15,000 into the business, which would give us capital to expand, and she would own a 25% share. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Now Patricia wanted to be part of the business that she previously wanted Adrian to get out of? The whole thing felt like a manipulation tactic. I asked Adrian if this was really what he wanted or if Patricia was still pulling the strings. He insisted it was a good solution that would make everyone happy. Patricia would feel more secure because she'd have a stake in the business, we'd have money to grow, and we could all work together. The idea of working closely with Patricia every day made my stomach turn. I had seen how she operated. She was controlling, demanding, and had no experience in food service. I pictured her trying to change our menu, our suppliers, our procedures, everything we had worked to perfect. I told Adrian I needed time to think about it, but honestly, I had already made up my mind. There was no way I was letting Patricia become a partner in our business. Adrian said he understood, but he hoped I would seriously consider it. He said it might be our last chance to find a solution that worked for everyone. As he was getting out of the truck, he mentioned that Patricia had already started looking at business loan applications, just in case I said yes. She was that confident that her plan would work. I went home that night and couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about how this all started, with Patricia being worried about divorce, and now she wanted to become a partner in the very business she was concerned about. The whole thing felt like a setup. I've been doing this work for 4 years. I wake up at 5 a.m. every day except Sunday. I've missed family gatherings, dates, and social events because the trucks needed me. I've burned my hands, cut my fingers, and dealt with drunk customers and food inspectors and broken equipment. This business isn't just my job, it's my life. And now someone who has never done this work, never made the sacrifices, never put in the time, wants to walk in and become a partner because she's marrying my brother. I don't think I'm being unreasonable. I think I'm protecting something I helped create. But my family thinks I'm being selfish and that I should just go along with whatever makes Adrian happy. I'm supposed to give Adrian an answer by this weekend. The wedding is still 6 months away, but Patricia apparently wants this resolved before they send out invitations. I'm leaning towards saying no to the partnership idea and telling Adrian that if he wants out of our current arrangement, we can discuss selling the whole business and splitting the proceeds. But I know that's not what he really wants, and it's definitely not what Patricia wants. Am I wrong for not wanting to let my future sister-in-law become a partner in the business I helped build? Update 1: I gave Adrian my answer that weekend, and things have gone completely sideways since then. I told him no to Patricia becoming a partner, but I offered another compromise. I suggested we could hire a lawyer to draw up a proper partnership agreement that would protect both of us and address Patricia's concerns about what happens if either of us gets married or divorced. I was even willing to pay for the legal fees myself. Adrian didn't take it well. He said I was being stubborn and that Patricia felt like I didn't trust her or want her to be part of the family business. He accused me of trying to keep him under my control and prevent him from building a life with his future wife. I tried to explain that it wasn't about trust or control, it was about experience and investment. Patricia had never worked in food service, had never managed a business, and was asking to become a partner based solely on her relationship with Adrian. But he wasn't hearing any of it. The conversation ended with Adrian saying he was done trying to find compromises. He said if I wouldn't work with them, they would find another way to handle the situation. I didn't know what that meant until the following Monday morning. I showed up at our main truck location at 5:30 a.m. like always, but Adrian wasn't there. I texted him, and he replied that he was sick and wouldn't be coming in. Tuesday, same thing. Wednesday, he said he had a family emergency. By Thursday, I was running all 3 trucks essentially by myself, with help from our part-time employees. It was exhausting, and the quality of service was suffering. Friday morning, I called Adrian directly. He answered but sounded different, formal and distant. He told me he had been thinking about our situation and had decided to take some time off from the business to figure out what he wanted to do. I asked him how long he planned to be away, and he said he didn't know. Maybe a few weeks, maybe longer. He said I shouldn't count on him being back anytime soon. That's when I realized this was Patricia's next strategy. If she couldn't become a partner, she was going to pressure Adrian to abandon the business entirely, leaving me scrambling to keep things running. I spent that weekend trying to figure out how to manage 3 trucks without Adrian. Our employees are good, but they're part-time workers, mostly college students. None of them can handle the level of responsibility that Adrian and I usually share. Monday morning, I made the difficult decision to temporarily close 2 of the trucks and focus on keeping our most profitable location running. It killed me to do it because we had contracts and regular customers counting on us, but I had no choice. That afternoon, I got a call from Patricia. She had never called me directly before, so I was surprised to see her name on my phone. She started by saying she was sorry things had gotten so complicated. She said she never meant for the business to suffer or for Adrian and me to have problems. She sounded sincere, so I thought maybe she was calling to help find a solution. Then she got to a real point. She said Adrian was miserable about the situation and was considering walking away from the food truck business entirely. She said it was causing him stress and affecting their relationship. She made a new proposal. What if she bought out Adrian's share of the business herself? She said she had been saving money for their wedding and could probably come up with $20,000. That way, Adrian would be free from the partnership, I would own the business outright, and everyone could move forward. I was speechless for a moment. 3 weeks ago, she wanted Adrian out of the business to protect herself from potential divorce complications. Last week, she wanted to become a partner. Now she wanted to buy Adrian out completely. I asked her if Adrian knew she was making this call. She said yes, and that he was supportive of the idea. She said he was tired of the conflict and just wanted it to end. The offer was insulting. Adrian's share of the business was worth at least $40,000, probably more. But beyond the money, the whole thing felt wrong. Patricia was essentially trying to force Adrian out of the business we had built together. I told her I needed to talk to Adrian directly before considering any offers. She said that was fine, but she hoped I would think seriously about her proposal because it might be the best solution for everyone. That evening, I drove to Adrian's apartment. I needed to hear from him directly what he wanted to do. Patricia answered the door and let me in, but the atmosphere was tense. Adrian was sitting on the couch looking exhausted. He barely made eye contact when I sat down. I asked him if he really wanted to sell his share of the business. He was quiet for a long time before answering. Finally, he said he was tired of fighting about it and just wanted the whole situation to go away. He said the business had become a source of stress instead of something he enjoyed. I asked him if this was really what he wanted or if he was being pressured. Patricia was in the kitchen, but I could tell she was listening to every word. Adrian said it was his decision. He said Patricia had helped him realize that maybe it was time for him to try something different. He mentioned that Patricia's brother-in-law was a contractor and might have worked for him. That's when I understood what was really happening. Patricia had been working on Adrian for weeks, convincing him that the food truck business was holding him back, that I was holding him back. She had systematically poisoned our partnership and was now offering to buy him out at a fraction of what his share was worth. I told Adrian that if he really wanted out, we needed to get the business properly valued and do this right. I wasn't going to let him sell his share for $20,000 when it was worth twice that much. Patricia came out of the kitchen at that point and said they couldn't afford to wait for a formal valuation. She said they needed to resolve this quickly because they had wedding expenses and other financial commitments. I realized then that this had always been about money. Patricia wanted Adrian out of the business, but she also wanted to profit from the buyout. She was trying to get his share cheap and probably planning to flip it somehow. I stood up and told Adrian that I wasn't going to be part of whatever game Patricia was playing. If he wanted to sell his share, we would do it properly with lawyers and accountants, or not at all. Adrian finally looked at me directly and said he was sorry it had come to this. He said he never wanted our business to hurt our personal relationship, but he had to think about his future with Patricia. I left that night knowing that my brother was making a mistake, but there was nothing I could do to stop it. Patricia had gotten exactly what she wanted. She had driven a wedge between Adrian and me, and now she was positioned to benefit financially from the destruction of our partnership. The next morning, I got a text from Adrian saying he was officially resigning from the partnership and would not be returning to work. He said his lawyer would be in touch about the buyout process. I had to laugh at the lawyer comment. 3 months ago, Adrian and I were splitting $60 lunches and complaining about the cost. Now suddenly he had a lawyer on retainer. I've been running one truck by myself for the past week. It's brutal work, but I'm managing. I hired 2 additional part-time employees to help with the basics, but it's not the same as having a committed partner. Several of our regular customers have asked where Adrian is. I've been telling them he's taking time off, but I think some of them suspect there's more to the story. The hardest part isn't the extra work, it's losing my brother. We used to talk every day, plan together, solve problems together. Now we communicate through lawyers and text messages. I keep thinking about all the mornings we spent setting up the trucks together, all the late nights we spent counting money and planning for the future. Patricia destroyed that in a matter of months, and Adrian let her do it. I'm not sure what happens next. I might have to sell the whole business if I can't find a way to manage multiple trucks alone. Or maybe I'll just stick with one truck and build something smaller but more manageable. Either way, I know now that family and business don't mix the way I thought they did. When someone else's priorities become more important than the work you've built together, partnerships fall apart fast. Adrian made his choice. Now I have to make mine. Update 2: the lawyer situation turned into a complete mess, and I found out some things about Patricia that I should have known months ago. Adrian's lawyer contacted me about the buyout, and right away something felt off. The lawyer was expensive, the kind you hire for major business deals, not for a simple partnership dissolution. I couldn't figure out how Adrian was affording someone like that. When we met to discuss the valuation, the lawyer presented an analysis that valued Adrian's share at exactly $20,000, the same amount Patricia had offered to pay. The analysis was clearly biased, using the lowest possible estimates for everything from equipment value to customer base worth. I brought my own lawyer to the next meeting, and she immediately spotted problems with their numbers. Our trucks, equipment, and established business relationships were worth significantly more than they were claiming. During the back and forth negotiations, my lawyer discovered something interesting. The expensive lawyer wasn't being paid by Adrian, he was being paid by Patricia's father, who owns a successful dental practice. That revelation made me curious about Patricia's family background. I did some research and found out that her father doesn't just own one dental practice, he owns 4 locations across the state. Her family has serious money, which explained a lot about Patricia's attitude and expectations. But the real surprise came when my lawyer ran a deeper background check on the legal situation. It turns out Patricia's father had been researching food truck businesses in our area for months. He wasn't just helping pay for a lawyer, he was planning to get into the food service business himself. My lawyer found permit applications and business registration documents showing that Patricia's father had been working on launching his own food truck operation. The applications were filed 2 months ago, right around the time Patricia first suggested that Adrian get out of our partnership. When I confronted Adrian with this information, he claimed he didn't know anything about it. He said Patricia had never mentioned her father's business plans, and he seemed genuinely surprised. But then I showed him the applications, and he got quiet. One of the proposed truck locations was the exact same spot where we had been planning to expand our operation. Patricia's father had somehow gotten access to our business plans. That's when Adrian admitted that Patricia had been asking him detailed questions about our business for months. She wanted to know about our suppliers, our profit margins, our best locations, our customer patterns. He thought she was just being interested in his work, but now it was obvious she was gathering intelligence for her father. I realized that Patricia's whole campaign to break up our partnership wasn't about protecting herself from divorce complications, it was about eliminating competition for her father's new business venture. Adrian was devastated when he understood what had been happening. He said he felt stupid for not seeing it sooner, but Patricia had been very careful about how she presented everything. The engagement ring, the expensive wedding plans, the pressure to restructure our business, it was all part of a strategy to get Adrian away from the food truck business so her family could move into our market without competition. Adrian tried to back out of the buyout process, but it was complicated because he had already signed some preliminary agreements. His lawyer, who was really Patricia's father's lawyer, said he was committed to the process and couldn't just walk away. Meanwhile, I had been struggling to keep even one truck running properly. The physical and financial strain of doing everything alone was becoming impossible. I was working 14-hour days and barely breaking even. I had to make a decision about whether to fight the legal battle to keep Adrian as a partner, or just let the whole thing collapse and start over somewhere else. That's when I got an unexpected call from Tom, 45M, who owns the coffee shop next to our main truck location. He had been watching the situation unfold and had a proposition. Tom said he had been thinking about expanding his business into lunch service but didn't want to deal with the complications of running a food truck. He offered to buy out both Adrian's share and mine, keeping me on as the manager and head chef. The offer was fair, probably better than what I could get if I tried to sell the business independently. Tom knew the local market, had established relationships with suppliers, and most importantly, he wasn't trying to manipulate or control the situation. I talked it over with Adrian, and he was relieved to have an exit strategy that didn't involve Patricia's father's lawyer. We both agreed to sell to Tom, with the understanding that I would continue running the day-to-day operations. The sale went through last week. Adrian got his buyout money, which he immediately used to break his engagement to Patricia. Apparently, once he understood what her family had been planning, he couldn't trust her anymore. Patricia didn't take the breakup well. She showed up at the truck location twice last week, screaming at me about ruining her relationship and her father's business plans. The second time, I had to call the police to get her to leave. Her father's food truck business is still moving forward, but without the inside information about our operations, they're having trouble finding good locations and suppliers. I heard through the restaurant community that their first truck failed inspection twice and still hasn't opened. Adrian has been helping me transition the business to Tom's ownership. It's awkward sometimes, but we're slowly rebuilding our relationship. He apologized for letting Patricia manipulate him and for not seeing what was really happening. I'm actually happier with the new arrangement than I expected. Tom handles all the business side, permits, taxes, supplier relationships, while I focus on the food and customer service. I get a steady salary plus a percentage of profits, and I don't have to worry about the financial stress of ownership. Adrian is looking for work in construction, which is what he did before we started the food truck business. He says he's done with anything involving food service, at least for now. The hardest part of this whole situation was learning that someone I thought was just difficult was actually running a sophisticated scheme to destroy our business. Patricia spent months playing a role, pretending to be concerned about marriage and financial security, when she was really gathering information for her father's competing business. I keep wondering how long they had been planning this, and whether Adrian was always meant to be a casualty of their scheme, or if Patricia genuinely cared about him at some point. Either way, I'm glad it's over. The business is stable, Adrian is free from Patricia's manipulation, and I can focus on what I actually enjoy, making food and serving customers. Patricia's father's food truck venture is still struggling, which gives me some satisfaction. Turns out that having inside information isn't enough if you don't understand the actual work involved in running a successful food service operation. Update 3: The situation reached a conclusion I never expected, and it involved the police and lawyers in ways I couldn't have imagined. 3 weeks after my last update, Patricia's father's food truck business finally opened. They had worked out their permit issues and found a location about 6 blocks from where Tom and I operate our truck. At first, I was curious to see how they would do. I drove by their location a few times and noticed they were struggling with basic operations, long wait times, confused staff, limited menu options. Their truck looked expensive, but the execution was amateur. I figured they would either improve with time or fail naturally through poor business practices. I was focused on my own work and trying to rebuild my relationship with Adrian, so I didn't pay much attention to their operation. Then customers started telling me strange stories. People who ate at our truck were being approached by someone asking detailed questions about our food, our prices, our busy times. A few customers said a woman matching Patricia's description had been hanging around our location, taking photos and notes. I installed a security camera on our truck after one of our regular customers told me someone had been going through our trash, looking for receipts and supplier information. The camera caught Patricia red-handed 2 days later, photographing our supply delivery and writing down our vendor's information. When I confronted her, she claimed she was just walking by and happened to be on her phone. But the camera clearly showed her deliberately taking pictures of our operation and our suppliers' trucks. I filed a police report for harassment and potential theft of business information. The officer who took the report said this wasn't the first complaint they had received about Patricia's behavior around local food businesses. It turns out Patricia and her father had been targeting several successful food trucks and restaurants in the area, trying to copy their operations and steal their suppliers. They had complaints filed against them by 3 other business owners. The police investigation led to something much bigger than I expected. When they searched Patricia's car and apartment, they found detailed files on dozens of local restaurants, including photos, financial estimates, supplier information, and employee schedules. Patricia's father had been running what was essentially a business intelligence operation, gathering information on successful food service operations and using that information to compete unfairly with established businesses. The district attorney decided to file charges for industrial espionage and theft of trade secrets. Both Patricia and her father were arrested last month. Adrian was questioned as part of the investigation because of his previous relationship with Patricia. He was completely cooperative and provided information about the questions Patricia had asked him about our business operations. During the investigation, more details came out about their scheme. Patricia's father had been planning to open multiple food trucks using information stolen from successful operations around the state. Our business was just one of several they had targeted. Adrian told investigators that Patricia had asked him to document our recipes, our supplier relationships, and our most profitable locations. He thought she was just being interested in his work, but she was actually building a database for her father's competing business. The legal case is still ongoing, but both Patricia and her father have been banned from operating food service businesses in our county while the charges are pending. Their food truck was seized as evidence and their business licenses were revoked. Tom and I have been working with the district attorney's office to document the impact of their actions on our business. The harassment, the attempted information theft, and the unfair competition caused us significant stress and lost revenue. Adrian has been helpful throughout the legal process, but our relationship is still complicated. He feels guilty about unknowingly providing information that Patricia used against our business. I don't blame him for being manipulated, but the trust we used to have is gone. He found work with a construction company and seems to be doing well. We talk occasionally, usually about practical matters related to the legal case, but we're not close the way we used to be. The food truck business is thriving under Tom's ownership. We've expanded back to 2 trucks and are considering a 3rd location. The quality of our operation improved significantly once I could focus on food and service instead of worrying about business politics and family drama. I learned a lot from this experience about mixing family and business, but also about recognizing when someone is running a long-term manipulation scheme. Patricia's behavior seemed annoying and controlling, but it was actually calculated and criminal. The other food truck operators in the area have been sharing information about Patricia's father's activities, and it turns out they had been targeting businesses for over a year. Several operators had noticed unusual surveillance and information gathering but hadn't connected it to a coordinated scheme. I still think about how close they came to destroying everything Adrian and I had built together. If Patricia had been a little more subtle, or if Adrian had been a little more naive, they might have succeeded in taking over our business relationships and customers. The criminal charges probably won't be resolved for several more months, but the immediate threat to our business is over. Patricia and her father can't operate in our area, and their reputation in the food service community is destroyed. Adrian and I may never be as close as we were before, but at least he's free from Patricia's manipulation and I have a stable business situation with Tom. Sometimes the best resolution isn't getting back what you lost, but building something better from what remains. The whole experience taught me that family relationships can survive business conflicts, but they change permanently. Adrian and I will always be brothers, but we'll never be business partners again, and that's probably for the best. Now let's move to the next story. Story 2: My boyfriend of 1 month proposed at my workplace after I rejected moving in with him and then turned into a stalker when I said no. I, 40F, need some perspective on my current situation because everything has spiraled so quickly, I can barely keep up. I met Tom, 57M, about a month ago at a dinner party hosted by our mutual friend Mark. I wasn't even planning to attend that night as I had a presentation the next day, but Mark insisted, saying I needed to get out more after my breakup. I had ended a 5-year relationship with my ex about 6 months ago and honestly wasn't looking to date anyone. At the party, Tom immediately caught my attention. He was charming, well-dressed, and carried himself with confidence. Despite the 17-year age gap, he had this youthful energy that drew people to him. We ended up talking for hours about everything from travel to business. He told me he owned a successful company that operated in multiple states and had just bought a beautiful house in the suburbs. I work in corporate marketing in the city, and he seemed genuinely interested in my work, asking thoughtful questions about my career goals. By the end of the night, we had exchanged numbers. He texted me as soon as I got home, saying how glad he was to have met me. We planned our first date for that weekend. He took me to this expensive French restaurant downtown and insisted on ordering everything, including a $200 bottle of wine. When the check came, I offered to split it, but he almost seemed offended and said a real gentleman always pays. Looking back, this was probably the first red flag I missed. The next day, he sent a massive bouquet of roses to my office. My coworkers thought it was romantic, but it made me a bit uncomfortable since we'd only been on one date. Still, I agreed to a second date that same week. By the end of our first week of dating, Tom was already telling me he loved me. Not just casual I love yous, he went into this whole speech about how he'd never felt this way before and knew I was the one. I tried to laugh it off, saying it was too soon, but he got very serious and said, when you know, you know. After that, things started moving at warp speed. He wanted to see me every single day. If I had plans with friends, he would try to tag along or convince me to cancel. He started making future plans without consulting me first, booking weekend trips, making dinner reservations weeks in advance, even talking about which room in his house would be my home office when I moved in. When I expressed hesitation about any of these plans, he would get upset and accuse me of not being ready for a real relationship. I tried explaining that I wanted to take things slow because my last relationship ended badly. My ex and I had lived together for 3 years before I discovered he had been cheating with a coworker. Tom used this information against me, saying I was letting my past relationship issues prevent me from embracing true love. He said a real man would never hurt me like that and that I needed to let go and trust him completely. Despite my reservations, I found myself spending more and more time at his place. He lives about an hour outside the city in this gorgeous house, and he kept insisting I stay over. He cleared out half his closet and drawers for me, bought me duplicate toiletries, even got me my own coffee mug with my name on it. When I said it was too much too soon, he said I was being ungrateful and that he was just trying to make me feel at home. Last week really opened my eyes to how controlling he can be. I had to attend a major corporate event in Chicago, something I'd told him about weeks in advance. It was a huge opportunity for my career as I was presenting to potential clients worth millions to our company. As soon as I landed, the text started. He wanted constant updates about what I was doing, who I was with, when I would be free to talk. During a crucial presentation to clients, my phone kept buzzing. I had put it on silent but could see it lighting up constantly on the table. When I finally checked during a break, I had 37 messages from Tom. They started with I love you and I miss you, but quickly devolved into accusations about me ignoring him and probably flirting with other men at the conference. I stepped out to call him briefly, trying to explain how important these meetings were. He said if I really cared about him, I would make time to check in at least every hour. When I said that wasn't possible, he got sulky and said fine, he would just leave me alone for the rest of the week since I clearly didn't care about his feelings. Things got even worse when I returned home. I had plans to attend a concert with my best friend Sarah on Saturday night. These tickets were purchased months ago, and I'd told Tom about them when we first met. He said it was fine because his college friend was visiting that weekend anyway. We made tentative plans to meet up after the concert. Throughout the entire concert, he kept texting asking when we would be done. Sarah noticed I kept checking my phone and told me it seemed excessive. After the show, Sarah and I were starving and decided to grab some food at a nearby diner. I texted Tom our location and invited him to join, but he refused, saying they were at a bar 30 minutes away, which was apparently the original plan I had ruined. I explained we could meet them after eating, but he just got more upset. Around midnight, he started demanding I come to his place. Sarah and I had driven together in her car, and she lives near me in the city. It made no sense to drive an hour to his place that late when I had to be up early for work the next day. When I told him this, he completely lost it. He sent message after message calling me selfish, saying I was throwing away our relationship, and that if I really loved him I would make the effort to see him. When I stopped responding, he started calling repeatedly until I turned off my phone. The next morning, he showed up at my apartment unannounced with flowers and tears in his eyes. He apologized and said he only acted that way because he loved me so much and was afraid of losing me. But within minutes of me accepting his apology, he started talking about how I needed to show more commitment to the relationship. He had already told his family I would be moving in soon. When I said it was too soon to live together after only a month of dating, he got angry again and said I was leading him on and playing with his emotions. My friends, especially Sarah, are worried about his behavior. They think he's moving way too fast and showing controlling tendencies. Sarah pointed out how he tries to isolate me from them and uses guilt to manipulate me when I don't do what he wants. I want to have a serious conversation with him about boundaries and taking things slower, but every time I try, he turns it around on me and makes me feel guilty for not matching his level of commitment. I'm starting to feel trapped, and we've only been dating for a month. How do I handle this situation without setting off another explosion? Update 1. I want to thank everyone who commented on my original post. You all helped me see that Tom's behavior wasn't just moving too fast, it was dangerous. I took the advice many of you gave about meeting in a public place to discuss boundaries. I chose a busy coffee shop downtown during lunch hour, thinking the crowd would help keep things civil. I was wrong. I arrived early and picked a table near the counter where the baristas could see us. Tom showed up 20 minutes late, already looking agitated. He had apparently driven by my apartment earlier and seen my car was gone, so he thought I was trying to avoid him. I hadn't told him which coffee shop we were meeting at until an hour before, because lately I'd had this uneasy feeling about sharing my plans with him. I tried to start the conversation calmly. I had even written down points I wanted to discuss, trying to be fair but firm. I explained that while I cared about him, his behavior was making me uncomfortable. I brought up specific examples, the constant texts during my business trip, showing up unannounced at my apartment, pressuring me to move in after just 6 weeks of dating, and trying to control who I spend time with. His reaction was scary. At first, he just sat there staring at me, his face getting redder by the second. Then he started crying. Not quiet tears, but loud, dramatic sobbing that made everyone in the coffee shop turn and stare. He kept saying I was breaking his heart and that he couldn't believe I was doing this to him. He said he had already told his entire family we were moving in together, that his mother was planning a welcome party for me, and that he'd even started renovating his home office to make it perfect for me. When I tried to explain that making these plans without consulting me was part of the problem, he suddenly switched from crying to anger. His whole demeanor changed. He accused me of seeing someone else, demanding to know who it was. Was it someone from work? Was it Mark who introduced us? He said my ex must have contacted me again. When I denied this, he called me a liar and said women my age should be grateful that a successful man like him wanted to take care of them. The situation escalated when I tried to leave. He grabbed my arm hard enough to leave marks and said we weren't done talking. A young barista noticed and came over to ask if everything was okay. I used this interruption to pull away from Tom and head for the door, but he followed me, still causing a scene. I thought that would be the end of it, but I was so wrong. That night, the messages started. Hundreds of them from different numbers since I'd blocked his main one. They ranged from lengthy apologies and declarations of love to angry accusations and threats. He said if I didn't unblock his number, he would keep coming to my apartment until I talked to him. He even emailed my work account multiple times. The next morning, I was at my desk trying to focus on work when my coworker Janet rushed in saying Tom was in the lobby. Before I could react, he had somehow made it past security and was walking toward my desk with a huge bouquet of roses. Then, to my horror, he got down on one knee right there in the middle of the office. He pulled out a ring box and started giving this speech about proving his love to me. My coworkers were recording it, probably thinking it was some romantic gesture. I was mortified and quickly pulled him aside to an empty conference room, telling him this was completely inappropriate. He said I had forced him to do this by ignoring his messages. When I firmly told him to leave, he refused, saying he would wait all day if he had to. He ended up sitting in the parking lot for hours. Janet and 2 other coworkers had to form a group to escort me to my car. When Tom saw us, he started screaming that I was turning everyone against him and that he wouldn't let me destroy what we had. Security finally removed him from the property, but the damage was done. The next day, my boss called me into her office. She was very understanding but concerned about workplace safety. She offered to help me get a restraining order and said they would update security protocols. I broke down crying in her office, finally telling her everything that had been happening. Our mutual friend Mark called me that evening with disturbing news. Tom had been calling and texting him constantly, asking detailed questions about my schedule, where I usually go after work, which grocery store I shop at, things that went way beyond normal concern. Mark was worried enough to warn me. I've blocked Tom on everything, but he keeps finding ways to contact me. He's created new email addresses, used different phone numbers, and even reached out to other friends trying to get messages to me. He's posted about me on social media, painting himself as the victim of a cold-hearted woman afraid of true love. Some of his family members have sent me messages too, saying I'm making a huge mistake and need to give him another chance. I've started documenting everything, screenshots of messages, dates and times of incidents, photos of the bruise he left on my arm at the coffee shop. My brother suggested I get a restraining order, and after today, I'm seriously considering it. I just can't believe how quickly this all spiraled out of control. A month and a half ago, I thought I'd met this charming, successful man, and now I'm afraid to walk to my car alone. Update 2: The situation with Tom has taken an even darker turn than I expected. After blocking him and filing the initial police report, things seemed to quiet down for about a week. I started to feel somewhat normal again, though I was still being cautious. Then strange things began happening around my apartment. At first, it was small things I could almost convince myself I was imagining. My welcome mat would be slightly askew when I got home from work. The newspaper would be in a different spot than where it was delivered. One morning, I found my recycling bin had been moved from the left side of my steps to the right. I started taking photos of how I left things before leaving for work, just to prove to myself I wasn't being paranoid. Then last Monday, I found a bouquet of red roses on my car, the exact same kind Tom had brought to my office during his proposal stunt. There was no note, but I knew they were from him. That same evening, I noticed a car similar to his parked down the street. When I took my dog out for his last walk, the car was gone, but I had this horrible feeling of being watched. I couldn't sleep that night and ended up ordering a security camera system on Amazon with overnight delivery. My brother came over the next day to help me install them, one facing my parking spot and another at my front door. I wish I hadn't looked at the footage after the first night. The cameras caught Tom coming to my apartment almost every night between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. He would just stand there in the shadows, sometimes for hours, staring up at my windows. In one video, he actually pressed his face against my living room window and tried to look through a gap in the curtains. The most chilling part was realizing this had probably been going on for weeks before I installed the cameras. I took the footage to the police station immediately. While filing for the restraining order, the officer revealed something that made my blood run cold. This wasn't Tom's first rodeo. He had 2 previous restraining orders against him in different states, one from 2018 and another from 2020, both from ex-girlfriends. The officer said they would expedite my request given his history. The revelations didn't stop there. Mark did some digging and discovered Tom had been lying about pretty much everything. He wasn't a business owner at all. He worked as a regular sales representative for a company, not even in a management position. The house he claimed to own was actually rented. When Mark confronted him about these lies, Tom said he only pretended to be more successful because he thought that's what women my age expected. But the biggest shock came when Mark uncovered that Tom was still legally married. His wife lived in Florida, and they had been separated for 3 years but never actually divorced. Mark found this out through a mutual friend in Tom's college alumni group. Apparently, Tom had told some people at the dinner party where we met that he was divorced, and others that he had never been married. He had carefully managed to tell different lies to different people so no one caught on. When confronted with this information via email, since he was blocked everywhere else, Tom completely unraveled. He created dozens of new email addresses to contact me. Some messages were thousands of words long, weaving elaborate explanations for his lies. He claimed his marriage had been over for years, that his wife was the one refusing to sign divorce papers, that he had only lied about his job because he was embarrassed, and that none of this changed how real his feelings for me were. Then the messages turned darker. He started threatening to come to my workplace again, saying if I wouldn't talk to him voluntarily, he would make me listen. He sent emails to my entire team at work, telling them I was mentally unstable and making up lies about him. When this didn't get a response from me, he somehow found my parents on Facebook and sent them long messages about how I was making a huge mistake and they needed to help him save me from myself. The final straw was when he emailed me screenshots of conversations I'd had with friends on social media, private conversations from accounts he shouldn't have had access to. I still don't know how he got them, but it made me realize how obsessed he had become with monitoring my life. The restraining order is being processed, but my lawyer says it might take a few more days. In the meantime, I've moved in with my brother and his wife temporarily. I'm working remotely, and my company has been incredibly understanding about the situation. They've even offered to transfer me to our Seattle office if I want to make a fresh start. I feel like I'm living in a nightmare. How did I miss so many red flags? How did I not see that this charming, seemingly successful man was actually a lying, manipulative stalker? The police have warned me that people like Tom rarely stop on their own, and that his behavior is likely to escalate further when he realizes he's losing control. Update 3: I wanted to give a final update on my situation because the events of the past few weeks have brought some closure, though not in a way I ever expected. The restraining order was granted, and I moved to a new apartment in a secure building with 24-hour surveillance and key fob access only. My company has been amazing through all of this. They approved my request to work remotely most days and installed extra security measures at the office for the days I do come in. Unfortunately, Tom didn't respect the restraining order. The first violation happened 2 weeks after it was issued. He waited outside my new building for hours, trying to follow residents in when they entered. Security caught him and called the police, but he was only given a warning. The second time, he somehow got into the building by claiming to be a delivery person. He made it all the way to my floor before another resident reported a suspicious person. When the police arrived this time, they arrested him. While he was in custody serving his 30-day sentence for violating the restraining order, I received an unexpected email from a woman named Rebecca. She introduced herself as Tom's wife, not ex-wife as he had claimed. She had discovered my situation through one of Tom's family members and wanted to warn me about his pattern of behavior. According to Rebecca, I wasn't the first woman Tom had done this to. Their marriage fell apart 3 years ago when she discovered he had been dating multiple women in different cities, telling each one he was single or divorced. He would love bomb them intensely for a few weeks or months, push for serious commitment very quickly, and then become controlling and obsessive. When the women tried to leave, he would stalk them and try to destroy their lives. Rebecca had been trying to divorce him for 2 years, but he kept delaying the process by not signing papers or showing up to court dates. She had her own restraining order against him after he broke into her house one night. She sent me copies of police reports and court documents showing a clear pattern of escalating behavior over the years. The most disturbing part was learning about what happened to the last woman he dated before me. She had to move to another state and change her name after Tom kept showing up at her workplace and harassing her family. Rebecca warned me that Tom seems to get more dangerous with each relationship, and that his current jail time probably won't stop him for long. I took this information to my lawyer and the police. They're building a stronger case against him now, especially since this shows a clear pattern of escalating stalking behavior across multiple states. My lawyer thinks we might be able to get a longer-term protective order when he's released. I've moved again, this time taking my company's offer to transfer to their Seattle office. I didn't tell anyone except my immediate family where I was going. I changed my phone number, deleted all my social media accounts, and created new ones under a different name. My brother helped me sweep my devices for any tracking software Tom might have installed. The whole experience has left me with anxiety and trust issues I never had before. I jump at unexpected noises and constantly look over my shoulder. But I'm also stronger than I was 3 months ago. I've learned to trust my instincts when something feels off, no matter how charming someone might seem at first. I'm sharing this final update not just for closure, but as a warning to others. Love bombing and pushing for quick commitment aren't romantic, they're red flags. I wish I had seen them sooner, but I'm grateful I got out when I did. The police told me these situations often end in violence if not stopped early. I'm safe now, rebuilding my life in a new city, and focusing on healing. Thank you to everyone who supported me through this nightmare. Your advice and encouragement helped me find the strength to get out of a dangerous situation before it was too late.